Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Hawk Blogger Mornings. I am Brian Nemhauser. You can find us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all the places at Hawk Blogger. Also, it is Tuesday. And by the way, hopefully you're happy to see we're back in our digs. We don't have our janky setup from yesterday. We got this all worked out and fixed. And it's a Tuesday with Matt Hasselbeck. Before I get a couple announcements, Matt, how you doing on Tuesday?
I'm good. What's up with the mustache, though? I thought that was a playoff stash. What's going on?
So here's the thing. It was a playoff stash. My wife hated it. Dave Pearson hated it. And a lot of other people liked it. I mean, I don't really care. I this is the face I was given. I'm just doing what I can. But a day after the Mariners lost in the playoffs, Rachel was like, it's kind of growing on me. And I'm like, you're the CEO of my face. You get to make these calls. As soon as you want me to, grow the beard back, the beard's coming back. But for the time being, it's sticking around.
All right. I was just curious.
Yeah, I know. I hear the disapproval. I understand it.
No, it's not that. It was like, wow, look at this commitment to his team, the Mariners. Like, that's a commitment.
That was what it was.
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
But now it's like, what are you rooting for the Dodgers?
What are you doing?
Like, what's the, did you just really want a mustache?
No.
Like, if you just really wanted a mustache and you didn't really care that much about the Mariners, then like that's fine too. But just like I wasn't sure what the deal was.
No, I don't know if I told you this story, but I mean, literally the day after I shaved to have a mustache first time, I saw a little girl with a cute little rainbow.
Yeah.
I told you that story, right? So
your face tells the same story.
It tells the same story, right? So I mean, you know what? You work with what you got.
I did a mustache like that for Movember when Mike Holmgren was the head coach, and it was hilarious. I mean, it just when you don't wear a mustache, it's like it feels weird,
It's objectively
to you
silly.
and to everybody else. Yeah,
it is objectively silly, and I will say that like Gray Zabel, Robbie Oots, like a lot of the guys in the Seahawks locker room are big fans, so they've been encouraging me.
Well, that's good too. Like if you're like, hey, I'm getting the inside scoop from Robbie Oots, like when he's coming back. Like, we got this like mustache bond. There's like the smokers bond. There's like all these bonds.
Yes.
Like the dipping bond, the mustache bond. That's a real deal.
It's a thing. It's a thing.
Yeah.
So I've got some fun stuff, I think, to talk about with you today. Before I get into that, a couple quick announcements. So folks know that we've donated to charity a bunch over the years. We've already donated to Ben's Fund this year. We're going to do more donations for My Cause, My Cleats, and then we're going to have Matt talk a little bit about a donation we'll do on his behalf later in the year as well. But we're going to do kind of an out-of-cycle donation. So for people that don't know, people that are receiving SNAP, which is like food stamps, new name for it, are going to lose that ability or lose that November 1st. This is not a political statement. I worked for my last 2 years in a real job for a company that helped people that were on food stamps that were making under $40,000 a year. They see their bank accounts go down to zero every single month. And the people that are on food stamps are just as much on one side of the political aisle as they are on the other. A lot of them are elderly. A lot of them are disabled. A lot of them are children. So we are going to make a donation to Hopelink that serves food to families and folks that are in need of food so that they are able to continue to make sure folks are fed. I got a lot more on that topic, but I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole. I just want to encourage folks to consider doing it themselves. Again, I don't think this is political. This is just about humanity. And I've put the link in the description of the video and pinned it to chat. So if you want to follow suit, I encourage you to do so. And then a separate, very, very different announcement. We're going to Nashville. A bunch of us are. We're going to go huddle outside of Matt Hasselbeck's house. He doesn't know this yet. But no, seriously, we are going to have a party. The Saturday before the game against the Tennessee Titans, we will be hosting an event in a lounge right across from the stadium. It is going to be a ticketed event. We're going to do a live show there. You will get, with ticket, you'll get a free drink. You will get a chance to, take pictures with anyone in the Real Hawk Talk crew. Dana is going to be there. Evan, Jeff, I think Nathan, pretty much everyone's going to be there. So we don't have the link for you to buy tickets yet, but if you are interested, I just want to let you know it's going to be a lot of fun. We might even consider letting the Hasselbecks in if they want, but that is to be determined. So
what's the date of that game? What's the date?
That is good question. November, Titans Seahawks is November 23rd. So this would be in 22nd.
Right before Thanksgiving.
Yes.
There you go. The Sunday before Thanksgiving. Easy way to remember it.
Yes.
And what's that location? What is that place?
It is well, we're gonna get the specifics about it. It's like the DraftKings kind of thing. I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's I've been talking to them and it's gonna be fun. So
great.
But before we get into all the other topics, it is worth reminding people why you're even here, man. It's not because you love the stash, and it's not.
we don't have the stash bond.
No, we do not have that. So talk to us about Team Impact a little bit.
Yeah, no, we have a different bond. I mean, you have supported this team for a long time. I appreciate that. I appreciate how you do it, and I appreciate that you do things with charity like this. No one should go hungry. I love it. My wife serves at a food pantry, and it's really something that, she and I are passionate about and like stuff like that. So you've done great stuff like that.
Thank
you. You approached me and said, hey, would you want to do this and do it for charity? I watch your Seahawks Collective show religiously, obviously, because my daughter's on there. And it's a good group. All four of you guys have a different perspective on the same team. So I'm doing these appearances with you. You're been generous enough to sort of pay this charity Team Impact. And what Team Impact does is they match children facing serious illness or disability with college sports teams across the country. All 50 states are represented, and the children, like the families, you become real teammates in the locker room, on the sidelines, game day practices, all that kind of stuff. And so they've done over 4,000 matches. I think for me, another part of this that's cool is that there's 100,000 student athletes that have now had a Team Impact match. Teammate. And I think it's like a two-way street, the impact that it has on the athlete and the coaches, and also these families that are going through something really, really difficult in the medical kind of like world there. And I think for me, these kids, these families, they're getting medicine at their hospitals. And I think Team Impact and these experiences help heal them or give them something that medicine could never give them. And that's through sports, and something that I know we both love. So that's why I love Team Impact, and I'm really happy to kind of like tell more people about it and hopefully bring those opportunities to more teams.
Love it. It sounds amazing, and happy to support it on your behalf. And man, it has been so fun to have you each week, and I've seen you everywhere else as well, which I listen to all those.
Well, here's the thing. I think your clips are like kind of like people must see your clips on social media and be like, oh yeah, I remember that dude. Let's see if he wants to go on. Like I've got an inbox full of like, hey, you want to come on and talk about Sam Darnold? It's like, well, what made you think of that? I'm sure it's because of something you and I said.
That is very generous of you. I will say Brock, when he was on, was like, man, nobody seemed to know I was going to be a coach until I came on your show. And I'm like, that seems odd. He's like, I'm getting all these texts from friends that didn't know. And I'm like, yeah,
I'm telling you, listen, I think Brock just had me on his show yesterday.
Yeah, I listened to you and Brady and Brock.
Yeah. And I'm sure he was like, oh yeah, let me call him. He actually called because he's trying to schedule a Valor Christian in Denver versus Ensworth High School in Nashville, home and home.
How would that go?
I don't know what kind of budget you got over there at Valor Christian, but I don't know if we, just get on an airplane and go to Denver.
How would that go? Do you know, like, how would you guys match up? Do you know, like, what level? How do you even know different states?
Yeah, I think our kids all, if you look at like where kids get recruited to college, it's probably somewhat similar.
Okay.
And we played teams out of town. We played a team from Arkansas last year. We played a team from Naples last year. We play out of state teams. That's a thing. They have a lot more kids. So he's right. I was sandbagging. I was like, no, we could never play you guys. Christian McCaffrey went to your school. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I'm competitive, but I'm also realistic. So
yes,
I don't know. We got a big one this week.
I love it. Well, the Seahawks are coming off a bye week, so we're not going to talk about the game that they didn't play. We will talk about some.
The buys are great, though. I mean, shoot, man. Listen, I think one thing. A lot of people get hurt in the bye. Like it's the coach's biggest fear.
Really?
Like it's almost like they're letting like high school seniors out for the last day of school or something like that. It's like the night before graduation. It's like, don't do anything stupid. Don't go work out with your trainer and pull an oblique. Don't, obviously the nighttime stuff, clubs and all that stuff. Like everyone's afraid of that. You go back home, all your friends are excited to see you. Like they're scared of it. And, now guys, I think it's in the collective bargaining agreement with the NFLPA where you can go and you get like literally 4 or 5 days off guaranteed. But like Mike Holmgren, he had been through the fire and he'd had these mistakes, and he would like every other day was like a mandatory, really light workout with the strength coach at like 10 a.m. It was like, you couldn't go anywhere, especially from Seattle. Couldn't leave, couldn't go to the airport anyway. So like, that's a fear. It's a fear. So hopefully everyone comes back healthy, no issues and all that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's certainly with hopefully no retirements. I asked Mike Macdonald about that. They had a retirement out of their bye week last year with Connor Williams. He was like, no, hopefully not. I will. The little bit of Seahawks news I'll get before we get into a little bit of different topic today is so Devin Witherspoon was not on the field for the media portion. That does not mean that he is not there. He's almost never on the field for the media portion of practice. He doesn't seem to want to be there during the media portion, but we did see Julian Love, Derek Hall, did see Robbie Oots. All those guys were out there, and all indications are that Devin Witherspoon should be back, but we won't know for sure until Wednesday.
Yeah. Can I say something about that? So like the media portion, you can speak to this maybe better than me. You guys are allowed to watch practice for like the first, 10 minutes or something like that?
Yeah, stretching basically.
Yeah, but stretching. So basically, sometimes you'll get out of a meeting. Let's just say the practice is at 1:00 and you get out of the meeting at 12:30. You got 30 minutes to like sort of like, hit the bathroom, get changed, get out to practice, get taped, all that kind of stuff. If you're coming off of an injury, sometimes you got like a special taping situation or a brace or a cast or like some other kind of thing that you got going on. And the athletic trainers will be like, hey, listen, let me get the regular guys first, and we'll get you like dialed in after. Like I need to this is important. Let's get this right. And you might just miss the beginning of the media practice. So like, it's not always like, hey, I'm trying to be secretive. I don't want them to know how my injury is doing. Sometimes it's just like, hey, we gotta spend a little extra time here. And that's all it is.
Yeah, that's good insight. And normally we would be talking all about like the Commanders game and some of the stuff that happened this past week. We might talk a little bit about it, but I wanted to take the advantage of the bye to kind of go a different direction. One of the things I've always appreciated about you is, your ability to kind of go a little bit more, be a little more transparent, be a little bit more open about some of this stuff. Maybe this will completely flop and we'll go into territory you're not ready to go into, but I wanted to kind of talk about the things around football and around the life that you've had as a football player, which is so unique and so rare, and so few people get to kind of have that experience. And there's a few different ways I want to attack it, and one of them, I'll start selfishly. Like honestly, I'll start selfishly. Like if I was in a professional athlete's position, the relationship with the media would be something that I'd have to be pretty intentional about, like how I'd want to show up, who I'd want to trust, and how I'd kind of determine who I would feel comfortable having, an open, honest dialogue with, and who maybe I'd feel less comfortable with. And so I'm curious, like over your career, how did you kind of decide how you wanted to show up with media members, and which media members, like, you don't have to name names, but how did someone show you that this was like, okay, this is someone who I can trust. This is someone who's, high credibility.
Yeah, for me, I really leaned on the PR department at the Seahawks. Like I almost felt like Jim Zorn was my quarterback coach. Like he was my guy. Like whatever he told me to do, I did. And obviously, that was an extension of Mike Holmgren, but almost all my hours were with Jim Zorn. Like rarely was our quarterback meeting room, especially when it was at Northwest College, which is now Northwest University, it was like literally the size of a closet. And like you could only fit the 4 quarterbacks or the 3 quarterbacks and the coach in there. There was like no room for Mike. Gil Haskell would sit in there sometimes, wouldn't usually talk too much, but it was just Jim Zorn. Mm-hmm. So then off the field, like in the community, like Sandy Gregory was like my go-to, like anything we were going to do in the community. It was like Sandy had been with the team since like 76. And she was like, great organization. Like, oh, this here, we're going to go. Like she was on it. I just kind of trusted her. In the same way, the PR department, so that was like, for me, it was really Dave Pearson, Lane Gamble, Rich Gonzalez, Jeff Garza's there now. Like there was like all these different people that were kind of like the filter that everything went through. And usually it was like, hey, this person's going to talk about this. They're great. They give you a little history. At the time, it was like Claire Farnsworth was working for the Seattle Post-Intelligencer, I think. And there was somebody else at the Seattle Times. And like they would give you like I wouldn't say it was like a grade, but it was kind of like a green, yellow, red, like, like in this, traffic light of like how much you could trust this person or how much they trusted this person. Mm-hmm. And I think it was more just like that, but it was a valuable thing, I think. But because I just turned my brain off and it was myself. And, but through that sort of coaching and that trusting of their expertise.
Yeah. Part of the reason I'm curious is I see very different approaches from different players, different athletes, different sports even. Some seem to be really measured and try to basically turn off in front of the media. Like, I'm not going to name names because it could be different implications, but basically there's some folks that are just different people in front of the microphone. There's some people that almost are oppositional. There's some people that are just really open and transparent. There's all sorts of in between. Did you have any experience where you kind of got burned for being, too open and maybe caused you to reconsider how you would present yourself?
I think Mike Holmgren felt like he got burned. If I could be wrong about this, but I think there was an article that Mike Silver wrote like early on, and I felt like he got. I'm not sure exactly the details, but like, it was just a different like, protect the team, I think was the mindset, like in terms of like everything. And, I do think that sometimes the players don't feel like you're on the same page as the PR department, like you're sort of like, well, you're the team's person and I want my own person. And I just never really liked that. Like I never like a lot of players these days have their own publicist or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, mm-hmm. I don't know. I always sort of appreciated more like feeling like a team player, being a team player and that kind of stuff. But then there's the other part of it where like, as an athlete, you got to like not get your feelings hurt over stuff that they say on the radio or TV or whatever, or on, back then it was newspapers. Now it's online. You got to like, hey, if you get your feelings hurt too much on that, then like you're not mentally tough enough, and it's going to affect your life. Never mind how you play. Yeah. So just like, what do they say? Earmuffs, blinders, like that's kind of like those are the buzzwords. Sometimes they'll say like block out the outside noise. Yeah. Yeah. Now they probably say noise canceling headphones, I don't know what they say.
Yeah. And then like similarly, like fans. So, obviously the relationship with fans has got to be a unique situation. You get recognized, you start, especially once you start getting more visible and starter and in the forefront, you lose some privacy. And so I'm kind of curious, like, how did you hope fans would show up for you, and how maybe sometimes there was like, man, I wish this wouldn't happen. Were there kind of boundaries that you set there?
I think the media stuff was hard for me early when I wasn't playing well, but I never really felt like I had an issue with the fans. Some people are like, drunk and mean and stupid, but like, it's all good. Like whatever, there was one time we played the Chiefs in a game, and I forget the year, but Jeff George was the backup. And I had to go out early to hold because I was the starting holder. I forget the kicker, probably Ryan Lindell. And I go out and I'm the holder. When I'm coming back in, like when there's a lot of people in a stadium like ripping you, it's like, whatever. But when it's just like a small amount. And so I went out early to hold, and I come back in, and this is at our stadium home game. And I'm just getting peppered by the people in the tunnel there, Seahawks fans. And they're, whatever, you suck, blah, 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 all the stuff, home game. And I come in the locker room, and Jeff George I just sit down, I don't say anything. And Jeff George is sitting next to me in the locker, and he's like, what's up? He goes, what's up, 8-ball? And I'm like, nothing. He's like, what's up? I was like, I don't know, man. Like, this is brutal sometimes. And he's like, you look like you don't even want to go out there and play. Let me guess. He goes, someone said something to you. They were ripping you as you were coming back in. I was like, something like that. He's like, let me tell you a story. I'm playing, and he tells this story. Rookie year, I'm in Indianapolis. Everyone's booing me. I look at all of my teammates are like, look, there's a fight up there. I turn around. It's my dad, my brother, my other brother, in like a fist fight with like some Colts fans, I think it was. And he's like, so whatever. Like, he just cut it loose, man. It's not. And I just remember sitting there being like, well, shoot, like I've never had it that bad. Like, wow, that's something. And I went out that game. And I think just like played differently. Just like, you know what? You can't let that stuff bother you. You're living your dream here. Cut it loose. And it was me against Trent Green, the Chiefs that day. And I think we barely won the game. I forget. But I know like I was like NFC player of the week. He was AFC player of the week. Like we had set some record for points for both offenses. And it was a good lesson for me of like, no matter what things get like, you're living your dream. Cut it loose. Have fun. Play like every play could be your last, and don't ever have this mindset like Jeff George said to me. He's like, you look like you don't even want to play today. And it was like, man, I never want to be that guy. I never want to forget how cool this is and how awesome this is. And like for a little moment there, I probably let somebody, I don't know what the right way, kind of steal my joy of like how cool this is, And so, and then I tried not to be the holder after that because I like.
I don't know when that changed, where they stopped having backup quarterbacks be the holder, or starting quarterbacks in some case be the holder.
I think the Tony Romo game was probably the game.
See, that's crazy to me because it feels like having the quarterback there is an advantage. But
here's the thing: at practice, the kicker, punter, snapper, they got like not a lot to do. Like most of those guys like get their Series 6 and during the season. Like they just. They do other things. And so like you're with the chemistry is a thing. The punter's got all day to, meet with the special teams coaches. So I think it makes sense. And, some of those punters are good athletes too.
Some of them are. Some of them even have NFC championship touchdown passes in their resume. So it does happen. The fan stuff is interesting to me because I am a fan, but you see people kind of dehumanize athletes. Like they say things to athletes that they wouldn't say to a normal person. And
it comes with the territory. I get that. That's it's weird though, when it's just a small amount of people. Like that's when it's weird, when it's like 30.
What did I do to those people?
I mean, if there's 30,000 of you, like whatever, bring it on, like Yankees suck, I get it, but like there's just like 30 of you, it's like a little awkward,
Well, and that was the other thing is like, are you a fan in other sports, or do you even consider yourself a football fan now?
Sports have sort of been ruined for me because of relationships. I'm no longer. That's hard for me. I mean, especially football. Like people, who are you rooting for? I'm like, well, I'm friends with the head coach. I'm friends with their quarterback. My wife's best friend is their, linebackers coach, husband, like our wife, it's like, it's a thing, but, it's all right. You find your way around it. I think it's helped me as like a kid too, parents with kids, your kids are playing against each other or like stuff like that. My parents had to do that, like the great game that we had against the New York Giants in the 2005 playoffs. Like my brother was Eli Manning's backup. When the Eagles would come to town, my brother was Donovan McNabb's backup. Like it was just like, my brother played for Arizona. My brother played for most of the teams in the NFL. But like it was a thing for my mom and dad, and so they would do like the split jersey thing sometimes, or my grandmother would. Like I don't know, you kind of lose on both. You're either all in or I don't know. It's tricky.
So you did talk about having this perspective about being grateful for what you're going through and not losing the joy of it. You are one of like a fraction of the population to kind of have gone through this life and as a professional athlete, and it comes with a lot of benefits, but it also comes with some oddities. Like your career is much shorter, and then you have to figure out life after, and your identity, which I've gone through, where I had a career for a long time and then I changed career. Like your identity is wrapped up in work. So I'm kind of curious, like, just as a person, you look back on your life, what have you kind of learned about, life and just going through it that maybe other people wouldn't have seen, given your path?
So many things. I don't even know where to start. The only real negatives that I can think of the career really are just the injuries, just the physical toll. I mean, that's a real thing. I don't know how else to say it, like just orthopedically. And I feel like I was really fortunate. I played 18 years in the NFL, 5 years in college, 4 years in high school, played as a kid, started at 12. I had one surgery in my life when I had retired, like one. And it was a left shoulder surgery. I had gone to Alabama for just a second opinion. And after a bottle of wine, Drew Brees talked me into having the surgery. Like that was the only real injury that I had surgery on. I mean, I had injuries, but so I feel like unbelievably fortunate. And even with that, there is some physical stuff that it takes a toll on your body. But my teammates, that's the real thing. All the other stuff is, nothing to complain about. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just a total dream come true for you, your family, all of it. And I think people immediately think of the money and the finances and sure, that's a game changer. But it's not even about that. It's about living out a dream. If I wasn't playing for an NFL team, I was going to be cheering on my favorite NFL team, my favorite NFL players. I mean, that was my dream. That was most of my teammates. That was their dream, or coaches, or even people that supported us that get Super Bowl rings in the building. Hey, I know I'm never going to get to be, I don't have the body type to be Marshawn Lynch, but I love sports medicine. Maybe I can be an athletic trainer. Or, hey, I love fitness and maybe I could be a strength coach, or I could be a scout, or there's a lot of people that go into helping an organization be successful.
Yeah. And the interesting thing there is you did get to live your dream. It sounds like. I didn't know for sure that was a dream, but it makes sense that it was. And then you've lived out your dream by the time you're 40, and then what? How did you approach that when you hit that point?
Well, for me, I really wasn't trying to go into TV necessarily, but ESPN had offered me a job on Sunday Countdown, which was the show that Chris Berman hosted. And I, at my house, when we eventually got cable, it sat on ESPN. We didn't have a remote, but it just sat on ESPN. And that was the show. That was the channel. We'd watch Tom Jackson and Chris Berman every night. It was or every, Sunday night, or that was SportsCenter. Those were the things. And so the opportunity to go work with Boomer. And at that time it was Randy Moss and Charles Woodson and Steve Young and Trent Dilfer. Sunday morning countdown and Monday night countdown. It was cool. It was part of a team. There's a bunch of people. Those are the people in front of the camera. There's a bunch of people behind the camera that had just as much to do with our success. And, it just reminded me about being being on a football team and traveling around, being in the stadium a little bit, not getting tackled anymore. It was just a cool, I think, transition. And then for me, I think a lot of people can relate, just watching your kids and be involved in your kids' success. And my kids were are still, I guess, very successful athletes. Annabelle, who 4 national championships in 4 years, won 2, lost 2. I remember the year they lost, her sophomore year. Both my girls were on the team at the time, and they're crying. And I think they lost by 1. I forget. They're crying. They're like, you have no idea what it's like to be so close to winning it all and not doing it. I was like, okay, really? I know you're young, but are you that young? There you go. I appreciate that. So, so my girls, and then although, my son's now playing quarterback, he's at UCLA, and, and my other middle daughter's playing at Stanford now. And so it's a great, I think that I'm more passionate about sort of what my wife and I are about watching them as probably they were about watching me. It is an incredible gift, and keeping it in its proper place. But I think people can relate. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like you are somebody who was never all in on one part of your life, that you had other parts of your life that, were rewarding and you were invested in, and those didn't go away necessarily, even when, the football part of it changed. So it's fascinating, and appreciate you sharing some of that stuff. And I think there's all sorts of folks that, at some point are going to be making these decisions about what they're doing in their careers. And I think it's useful to even hear folks that had a unique path through theirs.
Yeah. And I would just say also, I had developed relationships within the NFL, especially in the quarterback fraternity as we were going. And there was a lot of, identity talk, is my self-worth or value wrapped up in like how work goes. You know, for us, it was touchdown passes. So like, hey, you throw 4 touchdown passes, like you're the man. You throw, 2 touchdown passes and 4 interceptions, like, you're worthless. Like that's a really dangerous, faulty way to live for any business, and like just sort of like being around other quarterbacks in other cities, who are kind of living a similar life and hearing, like, kind of talking through those things. And like, that was really helpful for me as a young player. Because, like you can easily get wrapped up in your stats. Like there's literally a scoreboard and statistics to tell you, quote unquote, how good you are. But whether it's that or you're like in a sales job, like that's not really who you are. It's just kind of what you do.
Normally I'd get you right on time. Do you have time for one more question? Sure. This is a football question, not related to all the stuff we just talked about, but a common thing among Seahawks fans right now is they all are hoping that today or sometime this week or maybe next week that the Seahawks make a trade and they get a new right guard that can help fill in on the offensive line. And I'm curious, like, you've been part of these teams. You had teams with really great offensive lines for the most part. How continuity plays into that discussion, how much you can just drop somebody in to that line and expect it to improve. Do you see that as something that if you were in this position, you'd be like, yeah, if you can make that move, go make it?
I think, even more broad than the actual position, because like that can happen, right? But like, we were one play away from like losing another position or having another need. So, but just the mindset, like I just remember the mindset that Mike Holmgren had in my first year with the Green Bay Packers coming off of 2 consecutive Super Bowls. He was like, hey, don't count numbers. I'm trying to make this team, or even understanding what your starting job is, like what your starting role is. This organization is going to scour the world and look for anybody on the planet that we think can make us better. And I just remember like how when he talked like that, it was just like, whoa, I better, like, every day's got to be game day. Every day's got to be game day. Trade deadline or no trade deadline. No, it's just the mindset of it. So like, if I'm a fan, like I like the fact that the team's like, hey, if there's a deal to be made, we'll make us better. We're going to do it. But I also think in the locker room, when coaches, it's just like, hey, it's not personal, man. Like, but we're looking for anybody on the planet that can make us better. If we can find someone to make us, to put us, give us an edge, we're doing it. We're doing it. And it's no hard feelings. And I just think whatever the position, like, hey, it's all good. Like your kicker misses some kicks and all of a sudden there's 7 kickers working out on a Monday. Well, right in front of the weight room, as you're looking out on the glass, you're seeing these kickers work out for the scouts. You're like, it's just what we do. Not personal. It's just what we do. If you don't play up to a standard that everyone else is playing at, we're doing it. And I love that as just a mindset. Whether you make the trades or not, like, hey, that's a whole nother thing. But as a mindset, that's a winning culture to me.
Well, great stuff as always. Matt Hasselbeck, have a great rest of your week. We'll connect again next week. Have a good one, man.
Big game of Halloween. If you want to check out the score, that's we'll take the support. I don't know if we're gonna have our normal fans because a lot of trick or treaters. If you want to trick or treat or come watch the high school team play. Like
now, what would my costume be this year? I mean, I got to lean into the stash somehow. Like,
okay. I'm feeling like maybe a Toy Story, something around Toy Story.
Okay. All right. That is Matt Hasselbeck, Seahawks legend. Thanks, man. Have a great week.
Yeah.
All right. Matt Hasselbeck. Good stuff. And yes, my mustache seems to be a topic of conversation and fun stuff one way or another, no matter how you feel about it. And I hope, like, I know there's been people that are like, man, why don't we just talk about this, that, and the other related to the Seahawks? And we do. I mean, if you watch the show every day, we do. And I'm about to spend the next bit of time talking about some details around the Seahawks. But I think Matt's a really rare person in general. It's part of what made him, my favorite player. And the guy that, I said my number 1 draft pick, if I could have picked anyone to be a guest on this show, he would be the guy because of how he carries himself, how he approaches his life. I think not just the football player he became, the leader that he was, the teammate that he was, the father he seems to be. I'm not his kid, so I can't really claim, but I have met his kids, not all of them, but they're amazing people. And he's a credit to, I think he's a good model of how I appreciate and respect people going through their life. And so wanted to take a chance to talk about some of the other sides of how he saw his life unfold. And hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I certainly did. If you haven't already given the show a like and click subscribe, please do that. I would appreciate it. Also, go over to patreon.com/hawkblogger. I think we just had an opening on our Ring of Honor. There's a limit that we only allow 12 people into our Ring of Honor. We've been full for a while. We might have just had an opening. So if you want, now is the time to go over to patreon.com/hawkblogger. Ring of Honor is the highest level of support and the closest relationship you will have with myself and the others as part of Real Hawk Talk. So it's very rare that there's an opportunity to get in there. Now's a good time to take that. Plus, you get ad-free audio. Plus, you get access to the Discord server. Plus, you get verified over at hbtix.com, HBTIX, the best place to sell Seahawks tickets if you're a Seahawks fan to other Seahawks fans. So hbtix.com will do that to you. And then, or for you, not to you, for you. We continue to have great reviews come in on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Give us 5-star rating there. Greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't gone to SimplySeattle.com, now's the time to do it. You can get all sorts of great gear, whether you like these kinds of hats, whether you like these kinds of hats, whether you like, what else? This kind of hat, like whatever kind of Seattle sports gear you like, use code HawkBlogger15, get you 15% off. Go to jkboots.com/HawkBlogger, get the best deal. It goes well with this hat, by the way, as you can imagine. jkboots.com/hawkblogger gets you a great deal on great boots for a Washington-based company. This is a great treat for you or anyone else on this approaching holiday season. So take advantage while it's there. And then obviously go to Sleeper, download the Sleeper app for right now. You get $20 without even making a deposit. Plus you can track your fantasy football. You can hang out with friends, get real-time stats. And if you use promo code HAWKS, you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. All right. So I think I see a super chat. Let's get to that. Don Hester says, love Matt in the morning. Thanks for all the great content. Well, Don, appreciate you, man. Appreciate the super chats. Appreciate all of our members here on the YouTube channel. Love that and really appreciate that. So I'm going to go a couple different places. I'm actually going to be working on an article, and I think I'm probably not going to give away all the goodies from that article before I write it today. But it's going to go into this notion, okay, the Seahawks run game needs to improve. The Seahawks third down game needs to improve. Well, I've got some data where there's actually places where it's already like way better than last year. And you might be surprised where those places are. But I'm going to share some of that later today. One little tidbit I already shared on Twitter. Would you believe that the Seahawks actually have a higher conversion rate on 3rd or 4th and 1 than the Philadelphia Eagles, than the tush pushing Eagles? Now, this is only when the ball is run. It doesn't include passing plays, but the tush push is a running play. The Seahawks, when it's 3rd or 4th and 1, have a higher conversion rate than the Philadelphia Eagles. They have an 87%, I think it's 87.5% conversion rate. The only time that they have not converted on a 3rd or 4th and 1 all season was in Arizona. I think it was the first drive when they were out of like shotgun and handed it off to Zach Charbonnet on a like slow developing running play, and they didn't get it on a 4th and 1. So again, I get back to just do the obvious, like do what is already working, stick with it. I don't know that anybody would guess that the Seahawks are converting those plays at a higher rate than the Eagles. I think that's of note. There's some other stuff that's of note. I'll share that later today. kind of a quick aside. This is the spiteful side of me, and it does exist. It's probably not the best side of me, but it is definitely part of me. It is part of the whole package. So I tweeted out during the Texans 49ers game that I was just loving watching the 49ers offense struggle to do anything against the same Texans defense that the Seahawks scored 27 points against with 4 turnovers. And it was like it was a 49ers troll tweet. I mean, that's what it was. But I saw a tweet from a guy. I went on his pod last week. He seems like a nice guy, like passionate about the Texans. All these Texans fans getting butthurt about Seahawks tweets from this weekend, seemingly oblivious to the fact that no Seahawks fan is actually tweeting about the Texans. Like, nobody cares about the Texans. They're all just trolling the 49ers, like our bitter rival. Like, have some awareness. Nobody was like dunking on the 2-4, now 3-4 Houston Texans. Like, that wasn't it. And so I saw a tweet this morning from the same guy, and he's like, you know what? I see these posts from Seahawks fans. This is so wrong of me to spend time on this, but I can't help it. I kind of enjoy it. This is what it said. It says, saw a lot of Seahawks fans taking victory laps about scoring 27 points on the Texans defense. Here was the length of those drives: 44 yards and a touchdown, 80 yards and a touchdown, 39 yards and a touchdown. They drove the field, all caps, once. Texans offense was responsible for a good amount of those points allowed. Seahawks won that game on their own accord, but acting like their offense lit up the Texans defense all on their own is disingenuous. Really? Really? Like, let's talk about disingenuous for a second. This is the same account that after the Rams like ran all over the Jaguars and did a bunch in pass rush against them, said, let's just be like, everyone's crowning the Seahawks defense for being a great pass rush because of what they did against the Jags. But look what the Rams did. Are we sure that the Seahawks pass rush is that great? Yeah, I think your whole team understands that the Seahawks pass rush is that great. They absolutely made your offensive line and your quarterback look like grade schoolers. So hold the L on that. And then, like, as far as this tweet, the Seahawks scored the most points of the season against the Texans by 7 points. No one had scored more than 20. And that was on a touchdown with no time remaining by the Bucs when they scored 20 points. The Seahawks scored 27 points despite the fact that they had a field goal blocked, despite the fact that Cooper Kupp, their wide receiver, threw a pick near the red zone. Like, if you want to talk about disingenuous, talk about the fact, one, that the tweets were about the Seahawks, about the 49ers and not the Texans. Two, that the Seahawks should have had more than 27 points. They absolutely should have. Also, the only receiver to have 100+ yards against the Texans this season, JSN, had 123. He made your secondary, which is amazing, look pedestrian. Ken Walker had the second most rushing yards against your Texans defense. Zach Charbonnet had like the 5th or 6th most rushing yards against your defense. So yeah, the Seahawks offense did play well against your defense, and just sit this one out, man. Like, you got embarrassed. You got embarrassed on Monday night. It was like the stadium wasn't even full for a Monday night game because everyone was watching the Mariners. Like, man, I don't know. Does that stuff bother you guys? You guys like ducks and it just kind of rolls off your back? Because I don't know. I get a little fuel from it personally, and I need fuel doing a daily show, right? Like, you need a little fuel. We got another super chat here. Brent with a capital T says, if Kubiak gets poached, would the former Texans offensive staff go with? Do we know what the contracts look like? Also, would it be hard to find replacement that fits our new system? You know what? I don't know what's going to happen there. you would expect that if Klint Kubiak got a head coaching job, he would take Rick Dennison and John Benton and Andrew Janocko. Like, I think he would probably take his staff as much as possible with him. Now, maybe the Seahawks would say, well, Andrew Janocko, step on up. You're now our offensive coordinator. And so he wouldn't necessarily go. Maybe this would be his chance to break out in his own. But you think for Klint Kubiak, he would probably be offering Janocko or someone like that the OC position if he was a head coach. Of course, Kubiak would probably have play calling duties, and Janocko would have that if he stayed. Jake Peetz is still here. He was here with the last staff. He's been the passing game coordinator. Perhaps he would be ready to step up. I thought he would be a candidate for this past cycle, but he wasn't. So I think that would be a pretty bad scenario. At least currently, I would not be happy if that happened. But as far as whether or not there would be other coaches that could step in, there might be some already on staff. They're also, it is a pretty common system that's out there. I do think Klint Kubiak's not getting as much credit as maybe he deserves because, and I'm not an X's and O's guys. I'm not going to tell you like he runs this one concept that nobody else does, and he runs these tight formations in a specific, like I learned some of that stuff and I'll talk about it, but I'm not an expert on the X's and O's, and I kind of don't want to be to some extent. Just because for me, it stops being just a game and it starts being like a simulation. I don't know. Like I don't want it to just be a chess match. I want it to be a game still. Anyway, point being, I think he deserves some credit because I hear a lot of folks saying, yeah, he's just running like the 2017 Kyle Shanahan offense, or some of this is throwback. You heard Matt Hasselbeck on with Brock Heward yesterday. He and Brady Henderson as well. They were talking about how some of the plays that Kubiak's running are throwbacks to the Holmgren era and earlier. So it's not like he's inventing new things, but at the same time, I just feel like people underestimate how important sequencing is and play calling is. Everyone gets into the scheme, and I get it. The scheme's sexy and they do something innovative. Shane Waldron did some innovative things, but he was a shitty OC. Because play calling is a chess game. Play calling is a feel of how to set somebody up and then call a counter at just the right time. Like there's a lot that goes into being like sequencing plays, knowing when to call what, not just installing the whole thing. And I feel like Klint Kubiak's been pretty good in that regard. You don't create the explosive play rate that he's created without setting people up really well. And so I think there's something to that. And I have a real affinity for play callers, not just scheme designers, but play callers. And I think Mike Macdonald is not just a scheme designer. I think he's a play caller. I think Klint Kubiak is not really a scheme designer necessarily. I think he's a scheme adopter. I think he's potentially a really good play caller. Those aren't easy to find. They just aren't. And I'll tell you, I just don't know if Klint Kubiak is going to be hired away because, one, it's 7 games into the season. There's a lot left to play. We'll see how the season ends up. But let's assume that everything goes really, really well. He'll get some interviews. I don't know how he'll show up in those. Like, and that's I don't have any. That's not meant as shade. Like some people present as someone that you can imagine being a CEO of a team, being a leader, being somebody that stands in front of the microphone every week and represents the team, whether it's to press or events or whatever else. I think he's incredibly, seems like a high integrity guy, very much a family man. Like, I think I have a ton of respect for him. I don't know if that's his best situation. And there used to be there's this thing called like the Peter principle, I believe. It's more about corporate life where people get promoted until they get to the job that they aren't qualified to do. And then they stay in that job and block other people from getting it. And I don't know. I found in my career that there was a point where I got promoted to director. I was like one of the younger directors in the company, and I was offered senior director and then, beyond. And I was like, I don't want that. I intentionally stayed as a director for a decade because I saw, like, I knew all the way up to the CEO. I knew all the folks and I knew what their lives were like. I got a pretty good view. And one of the biggest differences between a director or a VP and a CEO or C-level is just how many nannies they were hiring to like kind of outsource their family life. And that wasn't what I wanted. Like, family was important to me. So I was pretty intentional about staying in a role that I was really good at and that also allowed me to have the life that I liked for me and my family. I eventually became a senior director and I had a chance to be a VP. I left before, the VP thing came to fruition, much to the chagrin of my chief product officer. But my point there is Klint Kubiak's probably best existence is as an OC. Whether he feels that way, totally different. And so we'll just have to kind of see how he goes about it. And we'll see if he gets those opportunities. But one thing I know is I want him around here. I want him to be the Seahawks OC. I think he's a terrific partner for Mike Macdonald. I think their energy is good together. And I think that they're creating something powerful together. And I think it'd be great for Sam Darnold to have the same OC for a few years. It'd be great for this offense to have the same coaching staff for a few years. I like the direction. And if you don't, I don't know how you could not like the direction that the team's going. So that's my thoughts there. All right. Couple other things. So let me get back to the injury situation. Then we'll talk trade deadline and what's going on there. We'll talk a little bit about the Commanders. So injury situation, if you didn't hear at the beginning. So Robbie Utes was designated for return from the IR to open his practice window. What does that mean? It means that he has a 3-week window now where he can practice before the team has to actually activate him off of IR and take the roster spot. So I don't think he officially takes the roster spot until they activate him. And I think he's going to be back sooner than that. I wouldn't be surprised if it's this week. I also wouldn't be shocked if they give him an extra week, but I think he's ready to go. He was on the field yesterday. I saw him jogging out there. I think he's ready. But it'll be dependent on what the team wants to do, probably because I'm sure he was ready to go now, but it'll be up to the team to decide if that's the case. Then we saw Julian Love was on the field and Derek Hall was on the field. Pretty much everybody was on the field that you'd want to see. Then the person that we didn't see was Devin Witherspoon. And again, I will just caution anyone from freaking out. Like, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything, honestly. I am not sure I've ever seen Devin Witherspoon on the practice field in the media portion since I've been covering the team. Doesn't mean he hasn't been, but I can't remember. When he's done it because he's just one of those guys that comes out late. And there are guys like JSN was not on the practice field when the media was out there yesterday. JSN's fine. Like, this is a lot of times the guys that are out there are special teams players that are getting special teams practice. A lot of times it's the younger guys that are trying to make sure they're there for every single second, anyway. So it's not a big deal that Witherspoon wasn't there. We also didn't get an injury report yesterday because it was an unofficial, it was a bonus practice. So the team does not have to release an injury report or a participation report until Wednesday. And it is a Sunday game. So Wednesday would be the game or the day. We'll find out there. Mike Macdonald, after practice yesterday, he didn't want to have to talk about injuries. So we won't really know for sure until later. But I think the news is going to be good. So I wouldn't worry about it. There is something from Mike Macdonald's press conference I want to try to play for you guys. I'm going to get to it. But let's talk about trades. One second, let me try to find. Okay. I found it. Trades. So the Rams made a trade for Roger McCleary, a cornerback, and this is actually a meaningful trade. I don't think it's like, oh my God, this is the hugest thing ever. But McCleary is a quality corner. Now, he is a guy that it's McCreary, not McCleary. Sorry, McCreary. He's 5'11", 190. He has been a nickel corner, a slot corner. He hasn't really been as much of an outside corner. He's a good player. He's not a great player, but he's a good player. He's an above average nickel corner. Now, I think that the Rams have been getting great nickel corner play from Quentin Lake, who has been their a nickel so far. So what's going on there? I think I'm pulling something up here for a second on the Rams. The Rams already lost to Kella Witherspoon, their outside corner, for the season. Collarbone, I believe, is what it was. And I'm wondering if what they're going to potentially do. Quentin Lake is a safety, but they've been playing him at nickel. I'm wondering if this is going to be something where they try to get Emmanuel Forbes off the field. Maybe they feel like one of their other corners can go outside. Maybe they feel like McCreary can go outside. In any event, the other thing that did happen that's worth noting, and let me make sure I've got this right as well, is Darius Williams, one of their other corners, I think, is dealing with something. Let me put this out there. Not finding it right off the top, but so yeah, I think that's notable. I also think this really helps them shore up a weak spot in what was already a pretty good secondary and makes them a better team. The other thing that the Rams did is they put Tutu Atwell on IR. Don't know why. Didn't have any specifics on why, but that means he's going to miss the Seahawks game as well as the 49ers game for the Rams. We also heard that the Rams are going to be getting back Puka Nacua and Rob Havenstein from injury, so they'll be back this week. So we'll just kind of see what's going on there. As far as the Seahawks go, you know, if I had to place a bet on it, I probably wouldn't. I mean, I think it's 50-50 that they make a move. I don't think it's the most likely. I think today would likely be the day that they make a move because then you get a week of practice with that player before the next game. If they don't make a move today, then the next most likely time to make a move would be next Monday or Tuesday after the game. The deadline is next Tuesday. The reason I think it's more likely to happen today is because there's a risk of waiting till the very end of the deadline. Someone else is going to get the guy that you want or need. Doing it now, if you know you want to get somebody, just go get him now. Now, they might have a new need or they might find a better deal that opens up next week that would allow them to go do that. But for the most part, I would expect that this is the time frame for them to do it. So keep an eye out. Keep an eye out today if that becomes something to watch. All right. So let me play for you guys something something from the Seahawks head coach. I asked him yesterday a question that surprised him. Surprised him a little bit, and it was kind of fun. Here we go. You're going to hear me asking Coach Macdonald about his nickname in the weight room. All right.
No, like, hates for evaluation all the time.
Is it true you've been nicknamed the sheriff in the weight room?
There's some truth to that. Yeah.
Why is it?
How do you? I'm impressed. You know that. I must be a joy to work out with. Apparently, if my nickname's the sheriff, I don't know. I mean, if you're gonna do it, you should be doing it right. So, no, that's good. We have a great group down there. Our strength guys are awesome. It's a great way to kick off the day. It's competitive. Just like our spirit around the building. Like, we want to give each other crap, but we want to get great work in at the same time. So same is true for when we're working out.
Is that part of your like daily routine, early workout?
Yeah.
What else?
We'd like some more coaches to join us, but they're too busy. I'm sorry.
How many do you have working out so far?
What is there? Eight or 10 of us.
How early are we talking?
Starts at 6.
Mike,
don't be late.
I was going to actually ask some more questions, but it got taken in a different direction after that. So I have more questions about the sheriff and how he became the sheriff and what gives him the expertise to be the sheriff. So we'll find out. I'll try to find some time to get with Mike on that. If they just let me interview him on the show, I could get all this great stuff. But I have not been able to convince Dave Pearson to get Mike Macdonald on this show. I mean, we did have him on at the Combine, so I will never say a bad word about that. That was awesome. But let's get him on during the season. All right, so last couple things. If you didn't already see, we're going to be making a donation to Hopelink to help folks that are going to be losing basically a really vital part of their food budget, their SNAP budget, their food stamps coming next week. So Hopelink is a place that feeds people, especially families that don't have enough money to feed themselves and their families and their children. Link is in the description of the video. Link is in chat as well, pinned to chat. Again, this is not a political thing, folks. It's just not. I'm pretty strict about no politics and no divisive topics here. The people that are on food stamps are just as likely to be on one side of the political aisle as the other. I know that because I worked for 2 years serving people on food stamps. I've talked to people all across in Texas, in Oklahoma, in Washington, everywhere. And they're just people. They're just people that have had a hard time. I talked to one woman from the state of Washington who actually had a disability develop later in her life. Her husband kicked her and her child out of the house. She wasn't able and capable of actually fighting that, and then was essentially disabled, homeless with her kid. Luckily, a friend was able to get them a place to stay with her, but then she had to figure out how am I going to feed my child, and having access to things like food stamps and government benefits was a really big deal. This was not someone who was just being lazy and didn't want to work. A lot of these folks are working, and they still see their bank balance go to zero every single month. So just want to encourage people to just be human and help other people just have food. So Hopelink is a great way to do that. I'd appreciate folks considering joining us in that donation. All right. And then Corey Coleman, a super chat here, says, what happened to Satawa Lamea? I know he wasn't perfect, but he seemed more consistent mentally than Bradford. So that's a great question. That is a great question. And here's the thing. I'm going to tell you a couple things about Satawa Lamea. I was not happy to see him go. I really liked his mindset. I loved him as a run blocker. I loved the energy he brought. I do have to admit, if you want to people poke fun at Anthony Bradford because of his PFF grades, do you want to know what Satawa Lamea's PFF grades were last year? He had a 19.8 pass block grade. He had a 37.9 overall grade. It was not good from a PFF grading perspective. I loved him, but particularly I loved him in gap schemes. He was great on duo blocks where they're double teaming and pushing up, physical stuff. I'm not sure that the outside zone was ever going to be a great fit for him. So where is he now? He is, as far as I remember, a practice squad player on the New Orleans Saints. But it does say he was released October 7th. So maybe he is just a free agent. He is probably just a free agent. which is too bad. I really like that guy. He worked his tail off. I think he's got potential. So yeah, that is what's going on there with Satawa Lamea. All right. We got a live tweet response to my response to the Houston Texans. He says, how are we supposed to know that your tweets are about the 49ers when there's no mention of them? Isn't it about boasting the Seahawks offense? Does your reply above not at all talk about the Hawks offense? Sure, it was the best performance in terms of points, but I'd argue the Buccaneers was better. Actually, acting like I didn't tip my cap, which I clearly did in the tweet responded to as interesting. I've given the Hawks credit time and time again, but if you're talking about moving on, why tweet about the Texans defense yourself? This doesn't have to be taken as an insult, but rather saying the Seahawks D was responsible for a good portion of those points. Nothing wrong with that and doesn't take away from the Hawks win, but do as you wish. Wow. Good luck with your team, man. Your team sucks. That's my response. Like, yeah, good luck. But thank you for beating the 49ers. Thank you. I will always appreciate that. And yeah, I've learned something about Texans fans. I didn't know they were this sensitive and this bought in. Like, how are they that bought into that team? I don't get it. Like that, one of the worst off-season plans I've seen. What they did with their offensive line, yikes. I will have tomorrow first look. I will have tail of the tape out probably later today. We will have Ben Standig, who has covered the Commanders for many years, join tomorrow morning. So looking forward to that. Also will be what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, yeah. So the Commanders lost last night badly. We don't know what the Jaden Daniels situation is going to be. I'll keep an eye out on that. We'll learn a little bit more today. Wouldn't surprise me if he plays. They kind of need him to, but maybe not. Laramie Tunsil, their starting left tackle, left the game last night with a hamstring injury. It's going to be a short week. Might be tough to get him back. Also, Terry McLaurin, who scored their only touchdown in his first game back, left that game with an injury, did not return. I believe that might be a hamstring or a knee or something. I don't know. So some injury stuff to catch up on with the Commanders, but we'll go deep into that tomorrow as part of First Look and as part of Tail of the Tape. So have a wonderful rest of your day. I am Brian M. Hauser. This has been another episode of Hawk Blogger Mornings. Take care, everybody.